Followers of this channel will know my viewpoint by now when it comes to PlayStation Now versus Game Pass. I've talked about this ad nauseum, but just to summarize one more time, Xbox is making Game Pass its key focus this generation, given that they've struggled to sell anything Xbox exclusive beyond Master Chief and Gears of War. Sony is relying on the traditional way of buying games, given that they've knocked it out of the park with their first-party titles. So both these approaches make sense given what happened last console generation. People will queue up to pay whatever price for something like The Last of Us 2, whereas people need a price incentive to commit to Xbox games that don't have Halo in the title. I know that makes it seem like there's one obvious choice, but ultimately it is good that there's a difference. If you want lots of games at a small price point, then Game Pass offers that. If you want to spend full price on a handful of well-crafted, well-detailed, story-driven games every year, Sony lets you do that. Everyone will have their own preference, and that is fine. Like, contrary to what you'll see in YouTube comment sections and Twitter threads, we are allowed both. But that puts PlayStation Now in a weird position, and the main reason is that while Sony is a very big and very profitable company, it just cannot compete with the amount of money Microsoft is throwing into these huge studio acquisitions like the Bethesda deal and the video game subscription merger deals like the one with EA Play. Now, you could argue that they don't need to do that based on their recent games portfolio, which makes Sony sound like a design student, but they do need to figure out PlayStation Now's positioning. Like, I'm not totally sure what PlayStation Now is, what it's trying to be, and I think a lot of people share this question. Because right now, it doesn't have the big exclusive titles that are recent, the way Xbox Game Pass is giving subscribers day one releases. It does have a huge library of games, bigger than Xbox Game Pass, but not a lot of them are recent. If you go through it, you'll actually struggle to find games that are released from 2020 onwards. So there's a huge library, but most of it are older games. Most of them are PS3 titles. And the other thing is that PlayStation Plus is as much of a rival to PlayStation Now as Game Pass is. You have things like the PS Plus collection, which is the cream of the crop in terms of PS4 games. Just wall-to-wall bangers. You've got God of War, Uncharted 4, Persona 5. If you're a PS Plus subscriber, you have all of these for free on a PS5. And PS Plus is also updated monthly with new games the same way PlayStation Now is. So it kind of creates this conflict, this competition between which service is going to have better games each month, which is not something you want. You don't want to feel like you have to have both, or you should have to pick one over the other. And it just kind of feels like PS Now is the awkward middle child, which is sandwiched between PlayStation's flagship titles, which they expect you to buy at, full retail price, and the online service that you pay monthly for. PS Now is kind of somewhere in the middle, but I'm not totally sure where, and Sony, I hope, have realized this because they're about to change the service. So this article from Games Radar says that the PlayStation boss, Jim Ryan, hinted at a response to Xbox Game Pass. Basically, someone asked him how Sony plans to respond to Game Pass, and he said, "There is news to come, but just not today. We have PlayStation Now, which is our subscription service, and that's available in a number of markets." So, it's the smallest piece of news, of information you could get. It's basically insignificant. And let's notice that this came out November 20th last year. So it's a few months old, as well as being potentially a throwaway comment. But I do think, based on everything I've just said, that Sony must realize that PlayStation Now, that one, Game Pass is surging ahead and netting Microsoft potentially, a leg up at the start of this console generation. There are no numbers to back that up yet, but you're kind of weighing different things. But they must realize the popularity of Game Pass and realize that PlayStation Now is not competing with it probably the way they would like to. And I think I have a solution for them. I think the best way PlayStation Now can quickly turn into a competitor to Game Pass is to actually go backwards. And what I mean by that is use the success they've found from the last console generation over the last 5 years and just extend it to the past 3 decades of success that they've had.
I'm talking about this. It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut.
So I'm talking, give us a complete back catalogue of PlayStation games, from the PS1 to the PS4. The first thing to do would be to streamline the service. Now this might seem a bit counterintuitive for a subscription, but to me the library just feels a little bit bloated at the moment. There are highlighted games and genres at the top, but overall the navigation is just a mess. It feels quite outdated, and this alphabetized long list just doesn't really do anything for anyone. And if you go through that alphabetized list, you can quickly realize that there is just a lot of fluff on PlayStation Now, a lot of what feels like padding. There are hundreds of PS3 games that no one remembers, so I'm thinking you just get rid of those. I know it might seem like you don't want to take anything away that someone might like, but no one is going to miss games like Lost Sea, Lovely Planet, and Learning with the Pooyus. Like, I don't know how PlayStation Now's data analysis works, but there must be someone who can see which games on the service are performing well. So I want to see a stat on how many people are playing Learning with the Pooyus. And if there is, if this is getting a certain amount of unique hits a month, fair enough, keep it in there. But I don't know anyone who's playing Learning with the Pooyus. I don't know anyone who's ever heard this. I've never seen this combination of words before in my life. So get rid of Pooyus, get rid of all these random PS3 games, and give us a load of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 classics, because this is actually one of the most disappointing parts of PlayStation Now, is that PS2 games are hugely appreciated. PS2 is like one of the best game libraries of all time. It's one of the best consoles of all time. The PlayStation 1 is not far behind, in my opinion. And both of these game libraries, like, they just had absolute hits, and you can't find any of them on PS Now. I mean, there's like 5 classic games on there. Where are all these PS2 classics? Where are all these PS1 classics? Where are all these PS3 classics? Like, I understand that some of these may be difficult because of licensing issues. Some of them have remastered versions, which makes sense. Some of them are on PS Now, to be fair. But, I mean, think of that library. That is just bangers, left, right, and center. That's hits everywhere you look. It's mainly the PS2 and PS1 catalogs that suffer, which is what I'm talking about. Like, that's what I feel like. You inject some of that, you get the nostalgia, you just get good games, and you can drip feed them. You don't have to bring them all out at once. What if you add them every month like they're doing now? But they say, like this month we've got Spyro and Tomb Raider. Next month you got Silent Hill 2, GTA San Andreas. And then the following month you've got Dead Space 2 and Persona 5. And include all the PS4 games that are in the PS Plus collection. Like, there's no excuse for that not to be on PS Now when most of those games have been on the service, but you've taken them off, and now you give them to PS Plus subscribers. There's no excuse for that. They should just be on there anyway, if you actually want to take this thing seriously. So overall, there would be less games than there are on the service right now, especially if you were going to do this idea of drip feeding it. But I think the time you spend on PS Now would increase, and I feel like that they would see that. I just think if Sony came out and said, yeah, this month we're releasing Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Parappa the Rapper, people are going to lose their shit. I would go crazy. Anyway, that's my dream for PlayStation Now. For the reality, me right now, my experience with PS Now, of all these 800 games, I've had PlayStation Now for just about a year, and I don't know how many I've played, but I basically keep this list, my list of games, All of these are fantastic. Like, there are really, really good games on PlayStation Now at the moment, but I have no desire to go out and hunt for new games because I really think I've found the cream of the crop. And I'm going to do a video on this sometime soon. I'm just going to give you like the best 20 PlayStation Now games, because those games alone I think are worth the price of the service at the moment. But if PlayStation Now wants to take a step up and compete with Game Pass, which I think that would be good for everyone if it did make this leap up, if you give us the entire PlayStation back catalogue, I think people would just go crazy, man. I'd be there leading the front lines. If this happened after I made this video, I would cry. You'll find me in the future videos just crying. Which, how much would you pay for this version of PlayStation Now? I mean, even if they added new games, but they were delayed. So say The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't come out for a year on the service. That's kind of what EA does at the moment. Their big games, so like Star Wars Jedi, didn't come to the base subscription. It was on their premium one. It didn't come to the base subscription for a year. So like, if they did something like that with games like The Last of Us Part 2 and future PS5 games, I think with that back catalogue, they could easily charge the same price of Game Pass Ultimate. I think that matches up. I mean, I think they could charge a bit more and people would probably pay something like 15 quid a month. If you just had the complete slate of PlayStation classics, that's almost priceless. You can chop this up, Sony, and use it in your promo for this PlayStation Now. Priceless. £15 a month. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you think PS Now could do. If you think this idea has any legs, what do you think PS Now could do to compete with Game Pass? And let me know what you thought of the video as well. I said it in the last video, but I'm trialing this new style of video to try and get my content up a bit in terms of how often I'm publishing. So if you like this video, please drop a like, and yeah, comment down below. This basically triples your impact on the YouTube algorithm for me. If you watch this video to the end, which you've done, if you leave a like, and if you comment, you're a triple threat, and I love you 3 times as much as if you hadn't done any of those things. So you're 1/3 of the way there. You might be 2/3 of the way there. I bet you haven't commented yet. So I'm gonna shut up so you can do that. You're all legends regardless. Stay safe. Bless us up. I'll see you soon.